Welcome to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, where there's always another secret.
Welcome back, everybody, to episode 45. The Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is back again and looking better than ever. Tonight is December 2nd, 2019. And in tonight's episode, we are going to be going over the Chapter 1 preview of Stormlight Book 4, The Rhythm of War, that Brandon recently sent out in his newsletter. As always, be warned that there will be spoilers in this episode, and those spoilers could cover pretty much anything in the Cosmere. You've been warned. I'm Bill, and I'm joined, as always, by my visionary co-hosts, Amy and Jordan. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Guys, I can see, and it's a miracle, and it's wonderful.
It's great.
And I love it. Last episode was weird. And Jordan, thank you for covering for me. Never do it again. No, I'm just kidding. Do it again if necessary.
I mean, you know, I mean, that's we have to not.
Right. Anyway, for those of you who listen to the podcast recordings or watch the videos on YouTube, we do want to remind you that it is possible for our listeners to interact with us live via chat, and we are delightful. Trust me, you want to interact with us. You're begging to interact with us, and we're begging you to, because it's just a great day. Anyway, as we record each episode live at www.twitch.tv/InnkeepersTable. We do record episodes of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies every other Monday night, starting at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Please join in, take an active part of the discussion. Come, be here, be our friend, be our mentor, be our guide, be our guest.
Be our guest, I know.
Dang it, Jordan. Dang it. I was doing that on the fly, and it was going to be amazing, and you ripped it from my jaws. Anyway.
I was waiting to jump in, too, so it wouldn't just be him. So, yeah.
Guys, I'm in a good mood. I'm happy. Also, just a quick piece of information for you. This isn't, anything we're getting. We're not getting any promotional kickback for this, but I just want to push out again. Guys, the Kickstarter for the Mistborn Metal Dice by Crafty Games is still going on. I pledged for it. I'm spending way too much money for beautiful metal dice, and I think you should too. So
the Harmonium dice in particular, if you haven't gone and looked.
It looks pretty.
It looks like a rainbow melted into a puddle and then solidified in the form of a die. Yeah,
very much like oil on top of water, but, metal.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of
very
gorgeous. Pretty. Speaking of spending money to support things, though, the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is made possible by the support of our listeners and patrons. The show, of course, will continue to be free, but if you want to help us out, head over to patreon.com/Cosmere Studies. You could pledge $1, $2 per episode, even that much really, really helps us out as we work to improve the show. Patrons will get immediate access to our Discord channel, and you can chat with other Cosmere enthusiasts about the show, about the Cosmere, about life, about random topics.
Anything that comes up.
And it's a great community with a lot of great discussions. There's a lot of support, a lot of just fun. You'll also get early access to bonus episodes, exclusive access to other bonus content, and you will even get automatic entry into some of our giveaways. Now, we do like to give a shout out to individual patrons from time to time. This week, we want to shout out to Eric S. Thank you so much for joining in and helping us out and supporting the show. You're awesome. And so are all of our other patrons. Seriously,
yes,
y'all
we love you
are amazing. You're why we do this every not every day, every 2 weeks.
I was like, wait a minute, do we have a schedule change that I wasn't paying attention to?
I'm not ready yet.
Guys, I'm back, and I am going full throttle on this.
Dang, Bill is cracking the whip now.
I know. Before we get into it, I did want to mention, so anybody who remembers from last time when I said that it was going to be my episode this time, there's a very good reason for why it's not. There was a sudden loss in my family, not my immediate family, but so there was a funeral on this last Saturday, and they passed the Saturday before. So that kind of screwed up my social life and my normal life, and if I get teary-eyed, that's probably why. So anyway, so hopefully next time it will be about romance in the Cosmere. So that's our goal, is for next time. So
all love, happiness, and support.
Yep, and I've appreciated everybody's nice comments, and I'm not going to say anymore because otherwise I'm going to get teary-eyed. So we're going to move on.
Like I said, the Discord channel is really a supportive group. So, yeah. So, guys, we've got a peek into the future.
Stormlight.
I am so excited about this.
Stormlight. I was burning 80, and what were you guys doing?
Wrong series, Jordan.
Oh.
You got to
switch.
Switch.
Else. That's the
switch a
lost
long time
metal.
ago.
No. Anyway, guys, Brandon has released a chapter. Now, he has said this is just a draft. It could change. He said there's going to be major language edits and all sorts of stuff. He said even plot points could change because this book isn't coming out for another year. Dadgummit.
I did find one typo. That was all I found. There might have been more, but I found one typo. That was all I found otherwise.
Was it now women?
Yeah, it was now women,
Yep.
and I was like, wait, what? How did...
women.
It's no women. Okay. There's a difference.
I missed that. I read right through that error.
Let me tell you.
It took me reading it the second time for me to go, that's what that he was supposed to be. Okay.
If any of you haven't ever read a draft that Brandon's written, it really is a testament to how much editing goes in. I remember the first draft I read of his was Warbreaker, and because he published it as he published
That's
it
right,
online on his website for free.
When was
with
that?
each draft? That was
oh
gosh. Well, the 10th anniversary is
coming
the
out,
edition
right?
is coming out this month. So and I spent way too much money on that too.
2009 then.
Well, I think it was actually 2008 when he was publishing the drafts.
Oh, okay.
It was 2008, 2009, around that time. And so I read the second draft that he published online, and then I think I read the fifth draft, and then I read the published version. And there are actually some big changes, both in language and in plot and character names. It's really interesting when you read one draft. Well, okay, here's the funny thing. Sometimes in his early drafts, he hasn't decided on a character name, and he'll use both for the same person. It is incredibly confusing.
Remember,
that sounds terrible.
Didn't the original version of that also have Koloss in it and stuff?
No Koloss.
No, I don't remember any Koloss. I read at least
Koloss
one or
weren't
two
originally
versions.
for Scadrial.
I think they were originally for Yolen.
Were they? Okay.
I could be wrong on that, but I
do
think
not
they were
know.
in Yolen, as was Bridge 4.
That one I knew.
But, yeah. So, anyway, enough about Brandon's writing process for making drafts, because we got one and we want to talk about it. Guys, everything's all topsy-turvy. You've got...
People in charge are the opposite.
You got Parsman ruling Hearthstone, you've got High Lords scraping Crim, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
I will approve every single Ghostbusters reference we ever do.
And I will milk that fact. Anyway, but yeah, it's really interesting because, especially if, you having read The Way of Kings, we're actually familiar with the way life works in Hearthstone. And so suddenly we're dropped back into Hearthstone because that's where we are.
Yeah.
We're in Hearthstone. We're in Kaladin's hometown. And
Lyran's the point of view. His dad.
And Lyran, his father, is the point of view. And it's a very stark contrast to Hearthstone of 2 years ago. And
this is the first time he's been a viewpoint character, right?
Yes, it is.
I think so, yeah. Yeah. It feels less abrupt or strange than other people's viewpoints because you've had so many conversations between him and Kaladin, so it feels like you sort of have a feel for him a little bit at least.
Well, and the other thing about Lyran is what you see is what you get.
Yeah, he's very straightforward that way.
he's a consistent guy, although is hard as stone.
Oh yeah, that's what the brightness Abidjan. If we say it wrong, I'm sorry. It's Abijan. Anyway, but she's the Parsh woman in charge.
Yes.
Or except now they call them Niv. Oh, what do they call them?
Niv singers and
Niv
Elm
singers. Yes, for new or old. Niv is new, Elm is old. Which they think are all gone, but we know there's that group that's still potentially around, right?
One thing that was interesting is Lyran says that she's got like pure white skin, or pure white
with red markings over the top,
with red markings over her cheeks, but everything. And so I'm just like, that's not really how we hear, the description.
Think of Parsh people.
It's usually reds and blacks and some whites, but
I mean, she was in Hearthstone before, right? Because she was owned by...
Yeah, she was one of
Rashon's, right? Rashon.
Personally.
Yes.
He apparently he only owned like 3 or 4. Which
yeah, because there's like 3 of them and then her that were there before.
I love the white, or the red on white. It's very Assassin's Creed. I think it's
it is. You're right.
It's a very stark color contrast. I love white with red.
Well, and you can
also kind of color.
You can also kind of contrast it a little bit with Scadrial, because technically all the Ska belong to the Lord Ruler, and they're on loan. But in this one, they're actually personally owned by individuals. I hate that we're discussing different forms of slavery, but it's just sort of
the world was.
It's an interesting contrast between 2 different cultures that follow this horrible practice. And of course, at the time, they didn't even realize that
that the Parshmen were.
Well, I love how
living.
No, it's a really good conversation, because the thing that's most interesting about it is how none of them ever really thought about it. And the point, like, even someone like Lyran, who we think of as a fairly forward-thinking person, right. he abhors war, but even he, from this perspective, we see it was just so common that he just didn't think about it, and it's even he has to adjust to it.
And he adjusts to it fairly well. Like, he's sitting there going, it's been a year and it's weird, but what's the difference in the Masters that much? He still has to fix everybody.
Well, and that's the other thing is, in spite of their status, Abidjan brings up a moment when he, what was it? He set her arm.
Yeah, he fixed her arm. He fixed a broken bone in her arm.
Yeah, and
so they have an interesting little chat.
He doesn't really think about it as anything other. He's like, I will heal whoever's there.
Yeah. And she doesn't fully believe him still. You can tell that she's still got some resentment there.
Which is, understandable.
It's understandable, yeah.
The other thing that's interesting, though, is he talks about how they're kind of searching for an identity. And, they follow what they're familiar with, but they're also looking back, trying to learn more about where they came from, their heritage. They're just grasping at these stories of the Elm Singers, as they're called.
Because they're wearing the Hava there.
Yeah.
Hava. Anyway, and what is it? They're wearing lighter, more muted colors, because apparently that's what the Elm Singers used to do, is not be as bright of colors.
It's an interesting contrast, because it's wearing the same style but a different color. Which Brandon seems to do a lot of focus on color.
Yeah,
Doc's comment is funny.
The thing that's I find very interesting is we know that they're searching a lot for who they are. We see that at the end of Oathbringer with Venli, where she was like, they actually started limiting her ability to talk to certain singers, because it was becoming problematic in some way. I couldn't quite remember why. But the thing that was interesting about that was she then does go back and start talking to the deckhand singers that were there. And the thing I found interesting about it is they're still searching. They want to know. But the information isn't readily there, and so they're sort of reaching out for whatever they can get.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it seems like, from what I remember of the comments from the common singers, it feels like they've come out of a dream type state, and they have a lot to catch up on.
Well,
So
and even Abidjan, she mentioned like that time because she remembers the fact that Lyran had bound her arm, but she said it's almost like a different lifetime. It's a different world. It's a different, it's like she's remembering something that happened to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that's a form of deja vu I'm glad I don't have.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
Be like deja moi? I don't know. Anyway,
I'm sure that joke would killed if you actually knew French.
Not killed, but
I don't know.
So, so they mention a plague. They mentioned that there's they've got the walls closed off, and one of the things that Lyran is doing is he's just sort of gatekeeping, making sure that no diseased people come into the city as well. Which is
so he's letting
understandable.
people with scurvy and stuff in, but that's not something you can pass on to other
It's not
people.
contagious.
Nothing contagious.
But I'd love to hear some speculation on this new plague in the West.
So my theory is that it actually comes from world hoppers.
Okay.
It's something that I've recently gotten into some word of Brandon's where people were asking. I don't think it was in response to this. I think it was actually earlier. But people were asking, like, how do they deal with the, transmitting diseases from one planet to another? Because, like, we think about it, like, what happened when, like, the Europeans came over to the Americas. They brought over diseases that no one had immunities to do.
Yeah, they just wiped them out.
And so it's interesting that Brandon did specifically say, like, well, it's not as big a deal because there's always been the world hopping, so a lot of those diseases have. But the new thing is that we're having Parshmen show up where they've never been before. And I'm wondering if there's a few Parshmen who have never had certain diseases and such.
Okay, tinfoil hat theory. I'm putting on the hat.
Okay.
So, remember how humans came from Ashen?
You think this is the magic
disease? Yes.
What was the magic system on Ashen?
The disease magic
wasn't that
system.
the diseases that you get
magic powers?
What is that in the same solar system?
Yes, it's one of the three.
Isn't Ashen the one that the humans destroyed?
Yes.
And there's Braze, and then there's...
But it is the one that the Silence Divine was supposed to be set on. Okay, honestly... I'm fairly certain that is, like, deep tinfoil hat. Like, that's the kind of stuff that...
You never know. I mean, my only thought was that it might be something that a void surge or... something void related, but I don't know much beyond that. I haven't thought about it very hard.
The other thought is that it's coming from the west, which isn't that where Ishar is?
I don't remember.
I think that's where the Herald Ishar is. Like, he's sort of like, and that's the thing. They just said the west. Well, Alethkar could be sort of on the east, so anything could be west. But
yeah.
But for some reason, Ishar came to mind the very first time they mentioned this plague in the West. So, I don't know what it means, but...
Yeah, I don't know.
Could mean anything.
I just
definitely
think
means something.
And that's the thing, is it's one of those things, like, Brandon didn't just stick this in here for no reason. There's something going on. This is a seed, obviously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so...
No, it's a plague, Bill.
The seed of a plague. A plague of a seed?
I don't know.
Anyway, the Olethi Parshmen are dressing similarly to their former masters. Now they're wearing lighter color tones, like we already talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So then Laurel shows up. Remember Laurel, guys?
Yeah.
Remember when we liked her?
I know.
It's getting harder too. Actually, no, it's getting easier too because she's kind of cool in this sequence.
Yeah, she's a freedom fighter, sort of, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way that Lyran describes her, where in spite of everything, no matter what, even if they put her in a servant's outfit, she's still got this determination. It's just like, okay,
Still
you know
this,
what, you're
this
hardcore.
posture to her, whatever, that's just cannot be crushed.
Well, what? I take back what I just said. I actually like her, and I didn't really stop liking her now that I remember right. There was a brief moment.
So as I think about it, it reminds me a lot about when they were infiltrating Kholinar, and they were discussing the problem of you couldn't sneak Elokar in as a commoner because he just didn't walk like a commoner.
Right.
So they had to make him a lady because otherwise it doesn't. It's more obvious who he is.
But it was still a Bright Eyes. Like he had that air about him that you couldn't get rid of. It was the same thing with Kaladin. It was really difficult. Like once he stopped being mopey, like he didn't fit in with the other slaves because he was standing too tall and was refusing to
and like
bow.
have his shoulders,
Well, he made eye contact.
Yeah, and that was the same thing with Kelsier too. Kelsier tried to pretend to be just a ska in the fields.
Oh, sorry. That's what I was thinking you were talking about. Yeah, Kaladin, not Kelsier. Brandon has K names.
There's only been a few, but
but Cal and Kel, come on. Yeah.
Anyway, they both hate nobles. Cal's Kel. If only if it wasn't for all the murders.
There was one little random detail I remember that she was bringing him water to cover their conversation, and Lyran had insisted that she not just let him drink straight from the bucket. That you separate it out and use the cup, and I'm just like, oh, there's that little touch of him using the sanitation that he can control.
He's a surgeon.
I found it interesting that the Parshman thought it was superstitious that
that
science was superstition.
Science is like, what? No, it's the Spren. It's the Spren. He's like, no, the Spren follow it. It's not that.
Which it is one of those things because he does talk. I remember in the Kaladin flashbacks where Kaladin and him discuss the issue of like, is it the Spren that caused it because it was rot Spren, or does it chase away the rot Spren, or is it because there's no more rot, the rot Spren go away? And his whole point was, well, we can't really know. And he's like, but we know that it chases it away, and the rot Spren are the indicator of it. So. And so that's his whole thing is even if it is, it doesn't matter which one's the chicken or which one's the egg. He knows how to stop it.
Yeah.
Because with Brandon, magic is science. And it's just, I love it. I love that he's taken magic to a science. I actually saw a discussion on Reddit where people were saying, are Cosmere books really fantasy? And it's an interesting discussion. He's like, it's more like a science fantasy. And I was like, but it's just a fan. Anyway, it was interesting.
I think it's interesting. It's basically like Cosmere books are to fantasy what Star Wars is to sci-fi.
Science fantasy. It brings it to the middle. Brandon is unity.
Doc actually makes a good comment in the thing he's talking about, the little epigraph. Is that what it's called?
Yes, I forgot
at the beginning. Because
that.
it's Navani's book this time, it looks like, which is interesting. And she's talking about attracting Spren for Fabrials, and that you have to
wonder how that's going to pull into the plot.
Oh, it's absolutely going to pull into the plot.
Because are we going to get shard plate that they make? That'd be kind of crazy.
Could be.
I'm hoping that we get some shard plate for the. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the words now. Like Kaladin and Shallan and stuff like that. The brain is having a hard time. Radiance, yes, radiance. I should know this word.
Well, it's interesting because we know that she is an accomplished artifabrian, and which is, for the record, a very fun word to say. Try it on your own at home; you'll bring a smile to your face. But he tends to put these things, and they tend to answer questions later in the book or later in the series. But I found the earlier ones tend to be ones that'll help you later in the book. And I just wonder, like, are we going to really get into some more complicated fabrials into this book? And this is why he's putting this here for us, so that we can get the issue resolved early on, so that when he shows the more complicated stuff, we've read the material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also a sneaky way to get in
your info dump without a
dumps.
feeling. That's totally in flowing with the whole thing. It's not like
no. It's not an info dump. It's a prologue to each chapter.
Yes,
they love
it's
this stuff.
epigrams.
They like info dumps.
They love it. It's great fun.
Honestly, the epigrams are still some of my favorite parts.
Yeah. I read them too fast. That's what I catch myself doing, is because I'm so excited to get to the... That's a good one. Info dribble. I like that, Doc.
But no.
So yeah.
It's very interesting that she's doing that. The other thing that was interesting was when Liren was talking to Laurel. So at a certain point, all the names start to run together, since they're all basically
L's.
The thing that I found interesting about that conversation is just, we know Liren is... Pacifist is the wrong word, because he doesn't just let things happen to him, but he is
he's a militant pacifist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he does not believe in fighting to resolve issues, even though he's not afraid of confrontation. We saw that throughout Kaladin's life. He is not a meek man. He is willing to stand up. He just believes you can get things done without fighting.
He's violently anti-violence.
Yeah.
Vehemently.
But it's interesting that he's still willing to harbor these fugitives when that could bring danger to his town. Like, there's some... I think Liren is going through a very similar issue that Kaladin's going through right now, where even though Liren is not a radiant, he lives his life by such a strict code that I wouldn't be shocked if there turns out to be like an order that would use someone like him, because he's almost Skybreaker in the way that he views his code. It's very strict on himself. But he's running up the issue of, well, what happens when they start coming for you and your people? Like, what can you do? And I think he's going to start running into a lot of the same things Kaladin is, where Liren's always been very good, because he does see both sides of the war. He's always been that way. He can understand that there's the two sides, and it's being the surgeon helps, because all he has to do is heal people.
Fix bodies, Fix the bodies.
But now he's coming into the moral quandary. I think it's going to... I love that they're starting here, because I find the Kaladin-Liren dynamic very interesting. Because Kaladin definitely looks up to his father, is proud to be his father's son, but also vehemently disagrees with his entire worldview.
Yeah, I mean, you can be proud to be someone's child, but you can still go, I still don't like what they do with that thing, or I'm never going to do that same thing that they do. And
Liren looks at Kaladin the same way. He's proud of his son and the work that he does, but he hates the way that he goes about it.
Well, because I remember when
kills
Kaladin,
people.
Yeah, when Kaladin comes back, because they have that discussion where Kaladin's like, "What do you expect me to do? They're coming to kill people, Dad. Like,
I have to do something. They're gonna kill me. I
can't
Liren, just not.
I'm gonna get it wrong. He says something to the effect of, he doesn't ignore that there is a time for war, and he's like, he just wishes his son wouldn't have become one of the men who do it.
He mentions it that if
Rashon, or if Wistio had lived longer, then maybe Lara would be his daughter-in-law instead of and Kaladin would be a surgeon instead of a soldier, and Tien would be alive. Right.
it's the other thing that's interesting about it is just the simple fact that he's willing to take on these refugees now, and in particular, wanted men, shows that he's trying to help.
Not just wanted men, soldiers,
generals.
a general.
And
A
I
general
kind
I'm
of
so
see it
happy
as
to
the
see again.
I kind of see it as the surgeon's mindset of, like, do no harm, type thing, that he can't let them fall into enemy hands and get killed either.
Wait, you just said a general. Is he the one in the interlude?
The hog? Yeah.
Wait, what?
I didn't put that together.
That's
What?
the Herdazian general, because you'll recall...
Oh, he's the one who says you
'Cause he
can
says-
fight the hog, right?
Yeah, well, because notice what he finds. He finds that his hands are worn, his wrists are worn as like with like slaves' manacles.
Because he kept breaking out of them. He was
Because that's what he did in the interludes. He was always like breaking out
my
of.
goodness.
Wait,
So in the
I'm gonna have to
interlude,
double-check
in
that.
in the interlude in Oathbringer, where we see what's his bucket?
The
the
light
Alethi
eyes.
guy,
Yeah, it's the
the light-eyed guy
who's part of Amaram's camp.
Right.
who messed with women and hurt them and things like that, right? And
Yeah.
then there's Is it Herdazian general
Yeah,
who?
it's the Herdazian general. This is a Herdazian general who.
Who gives him the options of you can have X, Y, or Z happen to you.
But while
and
he's
the hog
doing
is one of
it,
the
he's like
options.
breaking out of manacles that his own guys put on him. Like it's his hobby. He's an escape
I
artist.
forgot.
I didn't.
I
even
forgot
put
about
together.
that.
As soon as I saw
didn't put that together
Herdazian
at
general,
all.
I'm like, this has got to be
What?
the guy. And that he has that line. It's him. Why did he sick the hog on them? Come on.
Wow. I didn't even put that together.
Brandon,
I didn't
Very good-
either. Good job.
very
Good job.
good catch.
with the exception of with the exception of the characters that have died, Brandon has brought back even the ones who've died. Actually, he's brought back a reference in some way to every single one of his interludes.
What about Ishik in the Pure
Which
Lake?
one's Ishik?
The Pure Lake
He's-
dude. The fisher in the Pure Lake.
He might be with Seth when he's training in the Pure Lake, right?
I don't think he is, but I'm willing to bet they come back. Like
Okay.
it's one of those. He's
Yeah.
You
You
so
think he
far.
will? Yeah.
be.
Oh yeah.
Basically, almost all of them have. Like even the guy who died, the one that was killed by Nail, like they even
Yeah,
reference
he
him.
gets
There was a
mentioned by
reference to
somebody.
him. That's true.
He gets referenced by what's Lift's
Wendell?
W. No.
Wendell. That's
Oh,
right.
the stump.
Wendell says he's like, I could have gone to a cobbler.
That's right. He does mention that, and you're
And
like,
it's just like
I remember
no,
reading that and going, "Oh no, it's the same guy."
No, you made a better choice.
Yeah, he stayed alive.
But
Fair
no,
enough.
So they bring back that general. So I'm excited to maybe see more of him.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
Well,
He
and
may
more
not
like
get a very
Axes
big
the
part, I don't
Collector
know.
and-
Yeah. So, but
Was Axis the Collector the one that was on the Turtle
Great Shell?
Island thing?
Yeah,
yes.
the Great Shell.
yeah, that was the second time.
Was that him? Okay. Because I was like, I'm pretty sure that he was in that because
But
he was
I'm
hanging upside
I'm
down.
expecting there to still be more.
Because he's collecting, right?
Right.
No, but the other thing that was interesting about it is, how very Alethi the Parshmen are, because as they're trying to sneak them in, we have Rashon running point on a distraction, which,
He's doing a great job.
yeah,
Oh gosh. Well, but before we get to him, I want to talk a little bit more about the general.
okay.
Dieno Ene Kala, the mate.
You know, and first off, the name. I think that's so interesting. The way
It
just
totally
because-
it feels mobster.
Well, no, not
me.
just the mink. I'm talking about Dieno and the Kala. It sounds very Gaelic. You know,
See,
it's got
to
a
me,
very
it sounded very similar to the Unkalaki.
no. Unkalaki has more of an island feel. This is
More
this
Islander
fits more
Pacific.
like this fits more like Scottish Irish.
I'm not that familiar.
I don't know my Latin-based languages well enough.
Yeah, like Scottish Irish, even a touch of Welsh in there. It's very Celtic.
Oh, the NA kind of
Still
feels more
convinced Welsh
Celtic
is
to
a
me.
myth.
And all the Welsh listeners.
Just because their
up in
flag has
arms.
a dragon on it.
It's not. No, that's fine. That's
awesome.
cool. It's just have you seen some of those city names? They lack vowels. I think that's a prank they're pulling on every single.
They
one
have
of us.
Y's. Y's are sometimes a vowel. They just forgot the sometimes part.
I'm
convinced the Welsh are trying to pull one over on the rest of us. You got to watch out for them. They're tricky.
Also, W's work as vowels sometimes.
Oh, yeah. I've never tried to say a Welsh word, and I'm okay with that for now.
It's probably for the best.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just Brandon has talked about the Herdazians and how, in his mind, first off, Michael Kramer's interpretation is very Cockney. But Brandon's interpretation, he says they're based on Mexicans. And like the culture is based on Mexican culture.
Because they're very family based from what I remember.
Yeah. And so I hear that and then I see this Celtic, Welsh, Irish looking name and I'm just like, what? Brandon, stop just like slamming things together. Stop making owlbears.
Yeah, it's very strange because we've seen that all their slang does sound very Spanish in nature. Things like gancho, naco, chauta.
Oh, that's true.
Like those are all very Spanish sounding words.
Yeah, so it's just interesting that that's how the general came, like the naming system there. And yeah, so apparently the reason that he's here is because the Herdazian resistance against the Singers has finally collapsed. And so you have all these refugees coming in.
But they lasted like a year. So that's pretty impressive.
Tough as nails.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing is, and their nails are super tough.
Oh, good. You got the reference.
That's true.
No, but seeing the Lopin and his family and all his cousins and stuff, you're like, you get the impression they're pretty stubborn. They're not backing down.
I just like Lopin now has you calling him the Lopin now.
The Lopin.
Did I just call him the Lopin?
Yes, you said the
You
Lopin.
called him the Lopin.
Well,
he's gotten in your head, man. He's incredible.
There it is.
He's not even real.
And I did. What was it?
I
Wasn't it? I think in the newsletter, Brandon talks about his pets too, it's not his dog, but somebody else's dog is called the Lopin.
His sister's dog is a corgi, and his name is the Lopin.
Cute.
He's
So
apparently
cute.
the official Cosmere corgi, and I'm just like, but not necessarily. We have Cosmere puppy.
We has Cosmere puppy, who's somewhere hiding.
and cheeseburgers.
Oh man.
But yeah, how long is the time skip for this?
A year.
No,
It's less than a year. It's a year since the Everstorm.
yeah, it's a year since the end of Words of Radiance.
Okay, because that's when the storm starts. That's right.
Yeah.
And so wasn't it about 6
Wow.
months that covered the time for the previous book?
I honestly can't remember, and I
Maybe.
don't want to say wrong.
My brain is too tired.
Okay.
Chat,
But
find it for us. Report.
somebody knows. Somebody has to tell us.
But no,
But yeah.
Herdaz, and it's interesting because they don't think of Herdaz as a capable military country.
Well, no, it's this little backwoods, but they've got the whole guerrilla warfare thing going on for them.
No, it's I love that he's back, but it's one of those things I want to know more about. 'Cause I don't remember what's like. I know they're along the sea, but I don't remember what else anything else about the terrain.
In Hearthstone?
Map.
No, in Herdaz.
Herdaz.
On Herdaz,
Just one sec.
oh.
I have a map. Give me one sec. I'm gonna look.
Oh gosh, Jordan.
Here we go. Using our references.
Okay, they're on the north part of they're north
Yeah.
of Alethkar.
Right,
And it
north
looks
and
like-
west.
North of Alf.
Yeah, they're not in a mountainous area, so that would be hard land to defend. It looks like it'd mostly be forests, so
Which guerrilla warfare works with.
Works well in because you don't know what kind of forest. I mean, if it's warmer, then it can be much more tropical.
I'm basically
is
going to
something.
think of Endor. Sorry, the forest moon of Endor before I get
See,
anyone tweeting at me.
Technically, it actually could be sort of jungle-ish, just because We know that.
The Pure Lake is warmer, right?
Well, we know that the continent is in the southern hemisphere. That as you go north.
Oh, so it'd be more north. It'd be much warmer. Because the Pure Lake is more north too, and that's warmer. So
Well,
yeah,
the Pure Lake is something different, though.
yes, I know, but I'm saying it's north as well. So that's more of that is warmer in the north.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to get a little bit more about them, and I'm hoping we do.
But yeah,
get a bit more.
So even with that, a lot of height difference or mountains or anything like that, just having been in some tropical forests, having to fight in that terrain would be terrible.
Well, and then okay, guy, sorry, this is me changing subjects. When Lyran sees the fused, is that a fused we've seen before? It sounds like it could be the club guys, but
I don't think so. I
I
don't
don't
think we've ever
think
seen
so.
any with those fins.
yeah,
And I
those
think
fins.
usually Sanderson doesn't do a huge big description unless it's something new. And this feels like a much more
No.
in-depth description, or does he not?
He will if it's a new perspective and it's new to the
person.
perspective character.
And so that was
Yeah,
my thing.
but
Is I'm wondering if Kaladin hasn't really. I don't remember Kaladin ever describing one quite like that, but that could also be because whenever Kaladin meets the fused, it's because Kaladin's in the middle of battle and doesn't have
About to
time
duke
to
it
sit
out.
there and
Well, I
focus on
think-
how it looks.
This one's not floating or flying, right? And a lot of
No,
the ones that
just one
that Kaladin
just
was
walking.
facing were floating and flying and things like that.
Yeah, well, I think
So-
Lyran says those were the ones that had come previously.
He saw.
They looked almost
And
elegant.
they just like pass. Yeah, they just pass through.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think we may be looking at a new form or something. Mm-hmm. But
I'm interested to
Which
find
sounds
out what it can
scary.
do.
yeah, but
It
Jordan,
sounds
you were
like we'll
talking
find
about
out.
Rashon though.
Oh, yeah.
because he's taken a step in a very, very different direction than we're used to with him.
Well, yeah, first of all, Rashon is basically the worst person in the world that's not named Sadius, because he's the one who actually manipulated and is the Elokar.
He's petty.
Well, he's the one who manipulated Elokar. He's the reason that Moash's grandparents died.
Right.
And like, so he's like, it's one of these things where he's a bad person.
He was angry at Lyran for not handing over this
spheres.
this apparently paltry amount of money.
It felt like a lot way back when.
Yes,
but now
yes,
you're like,
but-
that's
but
not much.
Because I remember
he was mad at him for
Kaladin.
that. He sent his son off to die. I mean, that's a petty individual.
Well, and he was like blaming him because they wouldn't be like this if he had just been able to. What was it? It was something like heal
Save his
Wisty.
son.
No, because that was later, and that added to it. Because when he first showed up,
if
he said
he'd been able to keep Wistio alive,
yeah, you're the reason I'm here, or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
and he didn't want to be there.
Gosh, he's a nasty little toad.
But now we see him
Yeah,
willingly running interference.
well, he's basically been humbled, like pretty
Without
hard.
his, yeah, because you can bet he took the brunt of their anger.
Well, and that's something that's interesting because we don't see this behavior in the the Thalen Parchman. They
Right.
don't. They're not sitting there being like, we want to make them suffer. But the Alethi ones do, which is a very
Because the
Alethi
Alethi,
thing.
they're much more prone to violence and pushing for eye for an eye type thing.
Well, and their entire Alethi system is very caste based. Like it's everyone knows where they fall in the pecking order,
Yeah,
and it's one of these things that they easily fall into that style. And
Speaking of, I have a question. How did Abidjan become the Bright Lady? Like, what makes her?
My best guess is that she already had like a personality or something where she was more authoritative, and I'm guessing that she was either voted in by the other Parshmen, or that one of the fused or somebody else assigned her.
It's just, it's an interesting, they follow Alethi structure, but they were all pretty much equal before. How was there suddenly an Alethi caste system?
I'm assuming the fused have instilled it into them, Look, the Fused like rank systems as well. It's clear that they have that sort of thing going for them.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's clear
pointed
they
out
prefer
in
the Alethi Parshmen anyway, because they talk about how the Thaylen ones don't have the right passion. Like, the ones in Alethkar were totally willing to go and, to war and stuff. What's wrong with these guys?
Ironically enough, the Thaylens worship the passions, so.
Yep.
But yeah, so they want to bring Rashon as low as possible, and so they've got him scraping creme off of buildings. Just literally mucking the town.
Yeah.
And
it's especially funny if you remember that they use creme for one of their swear words, so...
Oh, yeah.
So a creme scraper would probably be literal to, like, waste management in our world.
Careful, Jordan, this is a family show.
Yes, that's why I said waste management. Come on. I know what I'm doing here.
Sewer employee.
Uh-huh.
I am refined as all get out.
Sanitation engineer.
There we go. That's our PC term.
Poopsmith.
And the show has reached an all-time low.
Whatever. I
feel like I'm talking to my son again. There
I made it higher. Anytime you can reference strong bad, we have raised the level of discourse as far as I'm concerned.
Fair enough. We did reference Homestar, so. But, they've decided they want to give him the most demeaning job possible. I like how Liren isn't sure whether he's actually drunk or faking.
He's like, and I've worked on people. I should be able to tell, but I can't with him.
Well, especially because, honestly, Rashon kind of has reason to be to take a phrase, to be deep in his cups.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think we already saw that he already was someone who was pretty deep in his cups when things were going fairly well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Relative,
because his whole situation, he didn't want to be in this little backwater town at all. So,
but again,
even if he is the city lord, it's not great for what he wants to be doing.
But again, he is helping run interference now. Whether that's out of loyalty to his daughter, or not his daughter, his wife. Sorry, Wistio is the father.
Yeah.
Anyway, but out of loyalty to his wife, or out of
revenge, or what?
Out of revenge, or just out of finally something coming out of him being so humbled. It's not quite clear, but he is at least working for
he's
a good
at least
cause.
He's helping, yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if Brandon is doing a story, with Rashon trying to become a better person. It's a very Brandon story, and it's also a very Brandon question of how much good do you have to do to outweigh your the terrible things you've done.
Well, in some ways, he's kind of a foil to Elhokar, who did the same sort of thing, because they were both they were both complicit in Moash's situation.
It'd be perfectly like Brandon to have Moash try and work down his Arya Stark list of people to kill.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Right as they're all trying to become better people. Show up.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where he goes with that, or if we even see much more of
I almost wonder if Moash would be able to track it back to Rashon or not, because he kills people so fast that he couldn't find out the information for them and how many people knew that connection that Moash would talk to.
Kaladin.
Yeah, but did Kaladin ever mention it to him? Yeah.
But okay, so anyway, it's just interesting because he's sneaking them out, and suddenly Abijah comes running up and completely lost all sense of composure, and she's like, "Come with me, and he's thinking, "Oh no,
you found out."
No.
Well, he's like, "No, I know it doesn't look bad, but everything's fine here. How are you?"
We're fine here. We're fine.
Liren, it doesn't sound like Liren has a good poker face from the description.
No, and Hessia doesn't either. She's like super pale and just like, oh no.
I do love the thing is they've discovered that they're not looking at the people who carry people on the stretcher. They're only
looking at the stretcher.
Well, it's interesting because it's again a reflection of Alethi Light Eyes, they don't see the workers. They don't care. They don't matter. They're just there.
Even though you would think they of all people would think to look there because they used to be them.
It's interesting how and it actually often happens where people who are in one situation, once they're put into a different situation, will follow the exact same patterns
because that's what they've seen, and so they just emulate it.
Well, I mean, exactly. But yeah, so she goes back. She sees the. So he said fins, and so I keep imagining like a fish dude or Captain America. I'm not sure which, because he talks about fins just above the ears, and Captain America has the wings.
I imagine like the way he described the hair. The hair to me sounds sort of like Predator dreadlocks.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when I think fins, maybe. I think something like maybe off of like Umbreon, the Pokemon. Like those style ears, but like drooping back.
Maybe.
Except that it's over the ears.
Yeah, but something like that though is sort of what it sounds very aerodynamic to me.
Well, and again, that's why I imagine the Captain America wings over the ears thing.
Yeah, it sounds very aerodynamic to me. I'm wondering if whatever this thing is if it doesn't have some sort of like speed or friction power of some kind.
Yeah,
but we already did see the Edge Dancer equivalent, right?
Well, but
because they were
we don't know
they were
how
facing
it
off
works.
With lift.
Because we don't.
Yeah,
that could be a
it's
false connection.
That's true.
Well, and we don't know if the Void Binders only, because it seems to me so far like the Void Binders only have one surge.
I'm not sure.
So if that was the case, then you'd have 20 different types, right?
10.
Oh,
yeah,
because they double
surges.
up. That's right. Sorry, my math, it's faulty.
Yeah, and so
for the fins, real quick, I keep thinking of there's some nymphs and stuff in the Lore Olympus webtoon that I read that have something that's kind of like a fin fish type thing, and that's what I picture personally. But
I don't know.
But go ahead, Jordan.
Well, because we've seen flight, so that you assume that's the gravitation. We've seen the friction. This is the one that Lift was fighting, and I think what we've seen is like the axial connection. I think that's what the Carapace guys are, because it reminds me of what the Stone Wards in the Visions do with stone. Except they do it to Carapace.
Okay, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, but
I'm sure we'll see more in the future.
What if he just doesn't? He's just like, Void Binding's not that interesting. We're just done.
Yeah, Doc FG mentions what I was talking about with
Captain America. It was more
he
Thor.
said it's more Thor, or even the Flash.
Oh yeah, because the Flash, he has little like lightning bolt type things.
Yeah, I don't know. But I just love how this one looks like a demon, as far as is concerned.
I kept like my first initial thought was Hellboy, and I was like, nope, it's not actually that. But my brain, that's where I went first.
Right.
So. But then I saw fins, so I was like, oh, never mind.
And of course, then we find out they're looking for a spy, but not a Herdazian spy.
No,
they
that's healthy, but is going to fake it.
They describe a man with long hair and just
clean shaven, but with long hair.
And
has he been clean shaven or has he been scruffy? I'm trying to remember.
He's been clean shaven
because he's a soldier.
Yep. That's right.
Remember, Rock would shave them.
Oh yeah, and Rock would leave like a little soul patch or something on himself.
He gave
something
himself
equivalent.
Almost the opposite.
Or was it?
Actually, he had
was the opposite?
He has
okay.
like a beard down and just a little
patch
spot
missing.
In the middle, if I remember, yeah.
Yeah,
but I just love that he
something.
does have the Shash brand, and it means dangerous, and it's like, yep,
yep.
And Lyran's thought is, oh no,
no.
I love that last line. Despite his best efforts, death has come to Hearthstone or something.
Well, but just the image, they find Kaladin, they rip the hood off, and he explodes with light, and it's just like,
well,
and Brandon leaves it.
He reminds me of, like, Lyran's trying to spin all these plates to try to prevent any death happening today. And he knows the moment he sees his son that all bets are off, because Kaladin ain't coming to a peaceful resolution.
No.
Kaladin intends to do some killing of folks.
Well, and they had actually mentioned, Laurel had said, and your son's going to come get the Herdazian.
Yeah.
Right. That's in Kaladin.
So that was his goal was to transport the mink out.
And so why is Kaladin in town?
I'm thinking to get the mink.
Right, but they're trying to get the mink out of town so that Kaladin can get him.
Maybe he was going to meet them in there.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I was under the impression that he was going to meet them in town.
Well, I thought Lyran was trying to get the mink out of the public view in town.
Okay.
Not that he was trying to get him out of town. Was that he was
enough.
trying to get him into a tent out of view so they wouldn't be able to match his face up.
Well, and my thinking is Kaladin wouldn't be able to, like, just fly in and fly out without... Because they have their Void Spren watchers. So I think...
Those little yellow ones?
Yeah, so I think the only way he could get in would be to smuggle himself in. And then try and fly out. Because we do know he's faster than the...
Average bear?
Than the flying fused.
Yeah. And he's more practiced than them, which you hope that he's kept that up and they haven't been able to get better at
now,
it.
the part of me that just wants more cool action scenes is hoping, like, more of Bridge 4 is there. And
I know!
That
was my hope, too, that it wasn't
from
just
the
Cal.
sky and just all do hero stance landings, the three-point land.
Three-point landing.
Oh, man.
And then... But that's because I just
Superhero
want
pose.
these things, as much as I
It'd
want...
be awesome.
I want awakened Mist Cloaks holding shard blades and Nightblood.
Oh, boy.
I still say the awakened Mist Cloak has to happen at some point. It's too perfect.
It's like a little octopus.
I just want it. I want it so bad.
That would be kind of awesome, actually. Oh, man. Guys, we've got to wait a year.
It's just a hop, skip, and a jump away. It's like the time is going to fly. You're going to be like, I can't believe we were even impatient.
Can't believe it's not Brandon.
It is Brandon.
Oh.
Well, let me put it this way. The book is coming in a year. If you're a Patrick Rothfuss fan, you would consider that to be a deep blessing. For the record, I'm a Patrick Rothfuss fan, and I would consider it a deep blessing.
Why did you invoke Rothfuss?
Because I'm trying to make this feel better, and not make it feel worse. But apparently, the glass is just always half empty with you people.
I'll be more perky next time.
I just finished a Brandon book. I'm like so freaking spoiled. Like within the last week, I read a new Brandon book.
Wait a minute. I forgot about that.
Oh, I still haven't read it. Yeah, I need to read that still.
Speaking
Life got
of,
kinda crazy.
if you haven't read Starsight, it's really, really good. And if you thought Skyward was okay, but it didn't quite sell it for you, Jordan, Starsight is very, very different from Skyward. It changes a lot of stuff, and it's worth reading. Just saying. Just saying. I think Jordan's typing something to me right now.
That was...
No.
Oh,
I was typing.
Oh,
I was
well
replying to chat.
Never mind. To our audio listeners, Jordan was not typing to me.
It was me typing to someone else. So yes.
Anyway. Guys, this is good. This is very good. I'm excited.
It was refreshing.
If this is how the next book starts, I'm excited to see where it ramps from here. Cause
I know, and we've also seen another. Didn't we see a preview chapter or something like that with
from
Venli?
the prologue. Not Venli. It was Navani.
Oh, that's right. We saw Navani's
Perspective on the
perspective on the
or part of it at least.
Galavar, right? Galavar?
Yeah.
I haven't read
Yep.
that.
The night that Gavilar was killed.
Yes, I keep getting Gavilar and Galavar mixed up. And then I could have.
Yeah.
Oh goodness! Don't add that in there. It's too many. But wasn't there also?
What, someone say Elokar? What?
No. Wasn't there? I could have sworn there was a
Orgrimmar?
Venli scene that I read where she's talking to a fused in a tower.
I don't remember this.
Oh.
If you remember it,
I will find if
Let
I
me
can
know.
remember where I found it, because I could have. I remember reading it, and now I don't know where it is.
Turns out you're
Yeah.
just developing psychic powers and reading Brandon's mind directly for the latest story because you're getting impatient.
Mwahahaha.
she sees the future. She's like read all of them. Sorry, that just reminded me of a scene from Doctor Who before the last Harry Potter book had come out, and he was talking about all these things. Book 7, I cried, and it was just like, but it was like 6 months before the newest book came out, and I was just like, oh, yeah. And David Tennant sold it like nobody else can.
Yeah, but I
Anyway.
mean, you got to figure you're gonna make it cry anyway.
Who would David
Anyway.
Tennant play in the Cosmere?
Hoyd.
Yeah,
I
was
would
gonna say
love David Tennant as Hoyd.
Hoyd. After seeing him as Crowley, yeah.
Or Lopin.
Or the,
I could
I
enjoy
see
him
him-
as
Sorry,
Lopin.
I see more Hoyd.
Ever since you put the idea in my head, I can't see Lopin as anyone else but
Tom Hiddleston.
No. I forget his name. The friend in Ant-Man, the one who always does the Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yes, him. I love him.
Luis.
He's awesome.
Luis, that's what. Luis. I can't
Luis.
remember the actor's name. He's in The Martian too, and I love that. I can't remember his
Right.
name.
Don't worry.
Point
I will
is,
figure this out.
maybe one of these days I'll get around to doing the Luis version of the Cosmere. That would be a ton of fun.
That would be a heck of a video to make, but so much fun.
So fun. Michael Pena.
Michael Pena.
Pena?
Yeah, that's it. Pena.
I can't do the new thing.
The
Enya?
tilde. It's Nya.
Tilda. Yeah.
Think Nyan, like Nyan Cat. Pena.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just put a
Okay.
Y at the end of it.
Pena.
You're good.
But
I just do a Japanese stuff. Turn on everything. It's terrible.
And on that tangent, thank you to our patrons. Thanks to our patrons, we are able to hold a monthly giveaway. And, of course, all of our giveaways are open to everyone and free to enter. Now, for this giveaway, we've been talking a lot about Kaladin and Lyran. Well, we talked a lot about Lyran. Kaladin just sort of showed up there at the end and exploded.
'Cause why
but
not?
because of that, we are giving away a paperback copy of Where Their Story Began, The Way of Kings. Keep an eye out on our social media accounts, of course, to see how you can enter to win, and you can be the owner of this lovely volume.
I'm just amazed that they can make Brandon books that size in paperback.
I know. They figured out new binding techniques to make one of them bigger, right?
Well, because
Probably
I do,
Oathbringer.
yeah, well, 'cause I do remember Brandon telling somewhere a story of how they told him, we know we tell you a page limit, you tend to think I'm going to go 10% beyond that. No, we don't have binding techniques to do
To do
paperback. So if
more.
you want there to be a paperback, you can't go beyond this limit.
We didn't have the power.
Didn't do it, Captain.
Of course, special thanks to Brandon Sanderson's online store at store.brandonsanderson.com for sending us so many awesome goodies to share with our listeners. Y'all are amazing. And to our listeners, you should go check them out because there's some really cool stuff over there.
Yeah, including, like they have some of the, not the new dice, but don't they have some of the dice for the game over there?
I think you have to order that directly from Crafty Games.
Oh, is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
All I
it's
know,
that
we
way.
had to go digging
they
for
have-
Way of Kings. That was at the bottom of the goodie bag, just above the coolest thing in the goodie bag. But
Dude, just... Anyway. It's not
There's
this
pretty
one.
jewelry on the website. I remember looking through it and being like, "Oh, I want it."
really, jewelry.
yeah.
What was the jewelry?
They have jewelry. They have some Aeons, and they have Vin's earring, and they have
tiny little bottles
I'm
of
sorry,
elemental
they're
metals.
selling Heave allergic spikes.
just one. And they have, what else was the other thing? They have Lightweaver. They have Lightweaver and different stuff like that for necklaces too.
I actually found on Instagram a girl who's officially licensed to do a lot of jewelry based on the Cosmere. It's called like Badali Jewelry, I think.
Yes, but that's the website you get redirected to.
She has some amazing stuff over there.
It's so pretty.
She actually has a ring made out of an allomantic spike, or out of a spike that looks like an allomantic, or a hemalurgic spike, not allomantic. It's late. Anyway, we are always looking for interesting topics to discuss on the show, and that is where you, our listeners, can help. Write in and ask us your questions about the Cosmere, or drop us your ideas for topic you would like us to discuss during the show. While you're at it, we would love to hear your feedback about how you think we're doing, because we're needy, as well as any interesting theories that you might have about what's going on in the Cosmere. You can send all questions and suggestions to cosmerestudies@gmail.com. We might even read your email as part of the show. That's right. You could be part of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Ta-da! But outside of the show, we've got our own personal projects that we're working on. Amy, where can we find you outside of this podcast?
So my Facebook is Coincidence Cosplay and Props. My Twitter is @CoincidenceCosp because my name is too long. There's a pause so you know it's different. And then my Instagram is @coincidence_cosplay. I haven't been posting.
Just based on these usernames, I suspect. Do you do something to do with cosplay?
I do. I haven't done a whole lot recently, but I do cosplay. I do props. I do silly pictures of my dog occasionally. She also has her own social media as well. It's @CosmerePuppy _puppy, I think, on Instagram. But I have a Secret Santa gift exchange that I think I've said on here what it is, but I'm trying not to say too much because the shipping date is finally coming up. Hopefully, so that I can send that out, and then once they have it after Christmas, then I can post about it. But I have, I'm gonna finally do my Hera from Lore Olympus cosplay, hopefully real soon. So that'll be fun. I'll figure out how to do yellow face paint. That'll be cool. Yay! So that's what I've been working on right now, and my real life is kind of overtaken other stuff. But
awesome.
That's what I've been doing.
How about you, Jordan?
I am, of course, on twitch.tv/splicestream, but if I could get the community's help, I am currently at 60 some odd followers on YouTube, and as I am going to be going full-time content creation here in the next month, I would really like to get that to 100, because at 100 you can actually, have a YouTube address.
Custom URL.
Yeah, custom URL, because right now my URL looks like, a Welsh town's name, and...
like it's eating some Linux.
Yeah, eating some Linux. And so if you, would be willing to go to my YouTube page, just look up Splice Stream on YouTube. It should pop up. Or Spliced Strategies might be another one that you could use. If you want, you can just bug me personally and I'll get you a link. And follow me there. I'd greatly appreciate it because, again, I would like to not be a Welsh farming village.
Indeed. And as for me, when I'm not here, I do have a bunch of board game reviews up already over at the Innkeeper's Table at www.innkeeperstable.com. I also will post about games on social media, so check those out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Innkeeper's Table. Also, now that I can actually see, I'm hopefully going to be able to get in a play of Hedgelord, Jordan's favorite title.
Awesome game name.
Which, guys, this thing is so cool because it's like a handcrafted, fully wooden game. Like, he makes 4 of these in his workshop a day. And so I'm really excited to do
it. It looks very interesting, too.
Yeah, it's a really cool concept. So I'll be getting a review of that up sometime soon, hopefully. Again, you can check that out at www.innkeeperstable.com. Now, for those of you who want to support the show, but you can't become patrons just yet for whatever reason, we would love it if you'd head over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else that you listen to podcasts, and drop us a review. Particularly, worded reviews are even better. a rating is awesome, especially if that rating is 5 stars, and a review is even better. It really helps us out. So we would love it if you could do it. And those of you who have done it already, you are amazing. Thank you so much.
Think of it as a Kolos Head Bunching Day gift to us.
Speaking of, that's actually coming up. I just realized.
Yeah.
Nope. It'll be right before Head Munching Day. Our next episode will.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Because-
Actually, for that, I'm going to request, if you are going to tune in live, please have something to munch on for that episode. It'll be Kolos Head Munching Observance Day. And so...
On the 16th?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kolos Head Munching Day, otherwise known as Brandon's birthday, is a holiday, apparently, that takes place in Scadrial. Brandon has said this is a thing, so...
Wasn't it
It's
like
a thing.
someone asked, wouldn't there be holidays? And he's sort of just like, Kolos Head Munching Day.
Day.
And he's like, oh, when is that? He said, December 18th.
Was it 18th or 19th?
It was very kind of the Scadrians to
could've
go
sworn it was
by
18th.
the Roman calendar.
Indeed. Well, December in ancient Scadrian, no, I can't even do it. Anyway. But yeah, so, yeah, do that. Check, just check it out. Give us a rating and come observe Kolos Head Munching Day with us. One of the other things, if you don't know, our patrons who once they hit a certain level of patronage, they will get a yearly or a Kolos Head Munching Day card from us.
Totally not Christmas cards.
No, this is Kolos Head Munching Day.
Yeah.
It's a Kolos Head Munching Day card as part of as a special thanks, and those will be signed by each of us as well. So,
and Cosmere puppy, of course.
Awesome.
Remember, we did the footprint last time, didn't we?
That's right. Or I think we talked about it. I don't think we did it.
No, we did.
I think we had.
Oh, did we?
Yeah,
Okay.
we did it.
We did.
Anyway, it's been a year. I don't remember things so good. Now, in addition to the live, actually, before we go into that, any final thoughts on this chapter?
Would have been better if there was more.
Yeah. It's hard to not
like
want more.
100 times more.
Yeah.
But it was nice to get this little snippet and be like, oh.
Do you know it'd be really
I could
cool
have
if it was a whole book?
Yeah, come on, Brandon. Get with the program.
I'm waiting for he hasn't snuck a book on us in a while. I'm waiting for the surprise book.
He surprised us with one last year. Unfortunately, it wasn't a Cosmere one. It was the Magic the Gathering one.
Oh, that's right. I still haven't read that one. I need to read that.
I don't know anything about Magic the Gathering lore.
Yeah.
It's like Pokemon, but with bigger, scarier things, right?
That is the
Kind
best description of Magic the Gathering ever.
It's like one of those explain it but bad prompts.
It's like Pokemon,
amazing.
but not.
And I've seen so many things that have been like Pokemon, but not, because there's like a Jim Butcher series too. That somebody challenged him to do Pokemon mixed with elements or Romans, I think is what it was. And
Well,
that's his fantasy series.
And Charlie Holmberg, who was on with us last year, she has a book series that she describes as magical fidget spinners and psycho Pokemon. So
Oh, I need to read that one still. I've only read her Frost one.
okay,
Ice Queen one.
cool. All right. Well, in addition to the live episodes of the show that stream on twitch.tv/Innkeeper's Table every 2 weeks on Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, listeners can find our videos on YouTube or the audio versions of the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and pretty much anywhere that you can find podcasts by searching for Cosmere Studies. You can also follow us and contact us through Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under the profile at Cosmere Studies. December is a time for warm, gushy feelings, so for our next podcast, Amy is going to take a turn at the reins and lead a discussion on the evolution of Brandon's writing style regarding romance across his books. It's sure to be a great discussion, so make sure you're here to join in on the conversation as we record the next episode on December 16th, 2019 at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time at 10:30 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/Innkeeper's Table. In the meantime, on behalf of Amy, Jordan, and myself, thanks for listening, and remember, there's
There's always
secret.
another secret.
That was the worst sync we've had, I think.